Ladies and gentlemen, welcome live at the ACHEMA fair. We have invited CEOs of important exhibiting companies to our VIP talk on the Red Couch. My name is Ulla Reutner. I'm editor-in-chief of the trade magazine P&A. My next guest on the Red Couch is Pietro, CEO of GF Piping Systems. Our subject is clean water, challenge of the century. A warm welcome to Mr. Lorry.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Mr. Lorry, in 2002, Georg Fischer founded the Clean Water Foundation. What were the main reasons to create this non-profit organization?
Yeah, well, you know, in 2002, we celebrated our 200 years of the company. And we took the opportunity to prepare a social event which would be sustainable. Yeah. And we created, you know, this foundation, Clean Water. So the goal of Clean Water is to provide clean water at the end to the population who are not easy to find this water, you know. And this is done in a non-profit project. It's not a profit organization. And since that time, we have done quite a lot, actually. In 10 years, we have invested about 7-8 million. And we have worked on about more than 90 projects, actually, around the world, from China, from India, from a lot of countries. And I think has been quite successful, you know, at the end of the day. And we are continuing now for the next, this year is the 10 years, but we will continue again, you know, in the next 10 years probably.
90 projects, that's a great effort.
Absolutely.
Improving access to drinking waters seem to be an unobtainable challenge, I think. Which are the key aspects for meeting this challenge?
Well, you know, delivering and providing clean water to the population who cannot afford that, it's a very important subject. I think there are several aspects, you know, to work on. First one is that we have to focus in some areas because the needs are everywhere, also in Germany or in Europe, as you know. So you know that there are special areas where we should focus. One is the Middle East, North Africa. You know, these are the main areas which are stressed and need for clean water. The Southeast Asia, and strange to say, but also the American continent, you know, the North America, just west of the 100 meridian, you know, on the west coast. This is a very much stressed area which needs clean water. So I think the resources and the investments should be first focused in this area. And then there are at least two aspects. The first one is to take better care of what we have, the existing water. In other words, you know that we have today about 30% of the clean water is lost just because of old aged infrastructure. There is a strong need to invest in the main, and this we are not talking about India or strange countries, but also in the big cities like London, Rome, and so on. So just to focus, to keep the water we have in a better condition, and to have more efficient production of the water. And the second aspect is to invest to find new water, to build up new plants. Big desalination plants, for instance, this helps a lot to transform the water, the salty water, in drinkable water. There are huge investments from Australia, Middle East, you know, in a lot of countries. And there is also a need for the so-called reclaimed water. The water which is lost can be reused. I don't know if you have been in Singapore, I guess so.
I never been.
Never, but anyway, if you drink water in Singapore, most likely 70% of the water is coming from the reclaimed water, treated and reused. But we have to do that also in other countries. So there are a lot of ways to do that. It's possible, but you need to focus and to make the right investments.
Yeah. There's no doubt that it's not mainly a deficit in the technologies which causes the water shortage in many regions. But nevertheless, what are technological efforts which may contribute to a better supply worldwide?
Yeah, well, you know, this world of the water is very challenging, and there are a lot of companies, research made, you know, to find the right technologies. But we have a lot to do. I just name, you know, a couple of things. First of all, there are a lot of efforts in the so-called membrane technology to clean the water. This so-called reverse osmosis, for instance, is a technology which filters the water in a good way. And today, I believe that we have reached a very good efficiency. So very low consumption of energy, for instance, which is important, in many countries. And the technology is more and more state-of-the-art, with a small energy to clean a lot of water, just to make it simple. New development. But what is also important is that today there are a lot of efforts, for instance, from Georg Fischer, how to find new ways to rehabilitate old infrastructure, to find new products, new plastics. You can have a safe connection so that water cannot be lost, as today. And this is also some part of the problem which can be solved, in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We appreciate the corporate citizenship of a water supplier specialist like GF Piping Systems. On the other hand, the secure supply of clean water is your business.
Sure.
Can you give us a short idea of further innovation potentials in that business?
Yeah, I think, as I said, there are quite a lot of things to be done. Many companies are focusing on that, including us. I can tell you that the major efforts are, for instance, to look for new materials. Yeah. New materials like plastics, which can resist at high pressure, and you can save the cost, in building up this big water treatment. So you have to work in nanotechnologies. Probably you have heard, how to influence the structure, of the molecules, to make bigger and better plastics. This is one area where you have to work. There are, in the membrane technology, a lot of things to be done to work in this effect. In the energy saving, this is one aspect, which is very important in this area. But also to find we call, the hygiene topic. In other words, to disinfect the water, to find a new solution, how to take the water, to purify to large amount of disinfection, which is not hurting the health. So these are new systems which are developed. There are companies today who have water treatment plants without using chemicals. So there is really a lot of innovation in this field, and hopefully this will be one of the key to solve the issue of the clean water.
Yeah. Yeah. At least a little bit political question. Let's look at regions with water deficiency. Yeah. Next to the human population and agriculture that have to be supplied, there are also more and more industrial locations, amongst other the chemical industry. Sure. In emerging markets and in developing countries. A lot of those have water requirements that are equally huge. Are there risks of regional stress fields there and unfairness?
Yeah, I think, we have to understand, that today the consumption of the water in industrial field is only 20%. So, all over the world. So it means that, yes, it is a problem, anytime you have a new industry coming, in these countries. But the main problem is really agriculture. 70% of the water in the world is used for agriculture. And only less than 10% just for human needs, So this sounds strange sometimes. So in my opinion, clearly, the industrial application has an influence, but much more has to be focused on the irrigation. Just to make you an example, in this irrigation, open channels in the countries in North Africa or where it's a bit warm, the evaporation of the water, you lose only 50% of the water just for evaporation. Wow. So honestly speaking, I believe that in this region, which I mentioned before, the major issue is how to save water mainly for this irrigation and for the production of food at the end of the day. Yeah, this is one of the major issues.
And if there would be something like stress fields, how can industry face this risk?
Well, how to face this is, again, you have to work on investments, which are the right investments. Once, just to repeat myself, but to work or to use better what we have. Just to use better, it means to have less losses. To work, on reclaiming, so use the water you have. or even in the buildings. In the buildings, you know that we have this gray water, which can be separated, you know, by the black water, and you can reuse that. So there are a lot of things which can be done, but in principle, you know, everybody has to invest in their own field. For us, it's very important to work on plastic materials which are better, which are safer, which are more economical, so we can give a contribution to produce more water at the lowest possible price. This is the key. It's not a problem to produce water. It has to be produced at a low price.
Low price, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We've learned there are technologies which are improving, which can improve access to drinking water.
Yep.
Dear visitors, this was the Red Couch talk with Mr. Pietro Lori, CEO of GF Piping Systems. Our topic was Clean Water Challenge of the Century. Thank you very much.
Thank you.